Okay, Rachel.
Hello, everybody. I'm Rachel Martin, and I'm a volunteer with Aberdeen Climate Action. I'm probably one of the lesser known volunteers because I do mostly help with IT stuff in the background, so you probably haven't seen me. But I'm also a volunteer for Aberdeen Cycle Forum, where I'm the campaign secretary. Tonight, I want to give you my top 5 tips on how to reduce your emissions and save money at the same time. I think that we all have given ideas for how we can reduce our carbon emissions, but a lot of them are impractical or very expensive, like putting solar panels on your house, a wind turbine in your backyard, buying an electric car. I mean, most of us can't afford to do those things, or it's not practical. We might live in a flat where we don't actually own the roof and can't put solar panels. So what I want to do is give you practical ideas that can absolutely be done and that will also save you a lot of money. So I had planned to come in tonight and give you a bit of a show and tell, but my husband's got COVID, which was very inconvenient of him. So we decided it was better I should stay away. So I'll do my best to sort of do a show and tell while I'm on the screen. So my very first one is eat lentils. And my show, in fact, I'm going to stop sharing for this, is this big bag of red lentils that I bought at Sainsbury's so it's a 5-kilo bag. I bought it for £9. And about 200 grams of this I use to feed a family of 4. That means I get 25 meals out of this one bag. Or if you put it another way, there's enough food in here to feed 100 people. And that works out at 9p per person. I'm not kidding, 9p per person. Obviously, you might want to add herbs and spices to it as well, maybe some vegetables, rice, pasta, or if it's a soup, you don't need that. But you'd be very hard pushed. In fact, there is no animal product equivalent that will give you that same value for protein, nutrition, and also it's got a really long use by date. So this actually goes off May 2025, doesn't need refrigeration. So if you're worried about the apocalypse, you could buy several bags of these, store them away, and you'll be all set for the next apocalypse. And in terms of climate reduction, 0.9 or less than 1 kilogram of CO2 is produced per kilogram of lentils. So that's less than 1 per kilogram. If you compare it to beef, which is 27 kilograms. So that's a ratio of 27 to 1. Cheese is 13.5 to 1. Pork, 12.1. And chicken is 6.9. So really nothing in other sources of protein compares to what you're going to get from legumes. So that's my first tip. My next tip, and I'll go back to my screen, is to buy secondhand. So I have a real love of charity shopping, and it's not just because I love a bargain. I mean, who doesn't love to get a bargain? It's also that I really like items that have a bit of history or some mystery surrounding them. So there's a story. You buy something and there's some story that you don't know. Who owned this before me? How did they wear it? Or what did they do with it? And there's something about that I quite like, in addition to all the other benefits, of course. So in fact, let me just stop sharing again. So this was my show and tell. I bet you weren't expecting to come and have a fashion show, but my dress is a wool Hobbs dress that I bought at a charity shop. And if I was there, I would, do a bit of a twirl on the catwalk, but I can't. I've got so many fantastic items from charity shops. Aberdeen is really great. Union Street has heaps of choice. And if I go back to my slides, you don't need to you can do it online as well. So Oxfam now have an online shop. And there's also a couple of other apps. So Vinted and Depop is another one. And you can actually sell stuff on these. So this is a good way if you want to get rid of things that you're not wearing anymore that someone else might find useful. And you can make a bit of money. And you can use that money, you can put it straight in your bank account, or you can use it to buy something else. And I've found this quite useful actually for my kids because they grow out of stuff so quickly. I don't want to spend a lot of money buying lots of new stuff for them. Okay, my third tip, is get rid of your car. So I always liken having a car in the garage or on the street outside your house to having chocolate in the fridge. If you've got chocolate in the fridge or the cupboard, you're going to eat it. Who can resist that? I certainly can't. So I just have to not buy it if I can, although that doesn't always work. If you've got a car, you're going to use it for trips that you don't need to use it for. So I really want to plug other options here. And this is, these aren't all my kids, by the way. So that's probably another good climate reducing tip. Don't have too many kids. But I'm not going to talk about that. So cycling, that's of course my favorite, but whatever method works for you. It could be walking, cycling, public transport. There's also a really great car club in Aberdeen. And I think if you count up the number of hours you actually use your car for, I think you'll be quite surprised. Most of the time it sits there doing nothing. We want access to a car, but we don't necessarily need to own a car. I think those are two different things. And the car club may well fill that and save you heaps of money. I mean, if you add up how much a car costs to run these days with fuel, with insurance, with maintenance, MOTs, all those things that you won't have to pay anymore if you got rid of it. Right, so the next tip is local holidays. And again, big money saving tip. It's quite expensive to fly to far-flung places, going on skiing trips in Austria, but who needs to do that when you've got such amazing scenery in Scotland? And take this from someone who isn't originally from here and has traveled to lots of different places. You have fantastic holiday spots in Scotland. It is beautiful here and much cheaper than flying somewhere, and you're supporting local businesses at the same time. So this is actually some family photos of ours. This is my family swimming in the Linnacoik near Braemar last year in the summer, and it was beautiful. The water quality is just so clear and amazing here. This is me swimming in the Cluny River in Braemar this summer. It was freezing, yes, if you're wondering, but it was still very refreshing and lovely. And then this is Christmas. We went to Kingussie and that was amazing. I wouldn't have wanted to spend Christmas anywhere else. Kingussie in Scotland, this is at the top of Craigbeg. This is another photo from Kingussie. And then this was another holiday we had over on the West Coast. This is the Bealach na Bar on Applecross. Really scary drive, one I'll never forget, but again, amazing. So yep, that's my tip. Holiday locally. And then the last one, I guess this won't really save you money, but it doesn't cost anything. And I'm sure a lot of you take action already by taking action, I mean, write to your local politicians, whether they're MSPs, MPs, or local councillors. And don't just say, please do something about climate change. It's very easy to point out problems. It's far more effective to give solutions. And what is right close to my heart is cycle paths. I think cycle paths can do a lot to solve our problems with not just climate change, but with the health, the NHS, with traffic, with pollution, with all sorts of things. And you don't have to be a cyclist, or you don't have to be someone who actually does it yourself to benefit from cycling. If other people in your community are cycling, then you're benefiting because our emissions as a community, as a group, will be lowered. The cost to the NHS will be lower. The pollution will be lower. So please, please, I implore you to write, especially in Aberdeen at the moment, because the council is putting out plans for city centre master plan, and they're going to completely redo the city centre. And we need to make sure there's segregated cycle paths in there, because if we want to get children on bikes or people who feel fearful of traffic, then we're going to need segregated cycle paths. We're not all young, athletic, fearless men. Many of us are quite afraid of cars and wouldn't consider getting on a bike without a proper segregated cycle path. So please say you support it, even if it's not something you want to do yourself. And if you are a cyclist, then I'm going to do a bit of shameless promotion here of a critical mass event which hasn't been run in Aberdeen for more than 20 years until last week. It was the first Critical Mass. And this is just a cycle ride around the centre of town. They did 2 loops at 6 p.m. on the last Friday of every month. So the next one will be 28th of October. So please come along. It's fairly slow, and everybody of all types welcome on any kind of bike, any kind of wheels, actually. So you can be from disability scooters to whatever you use to get around. That's it. So please, any questions?
We'll take questions afterwards when everyone's spoken, Rachel.
Okay, sure.
Thank you very much for that, and don't go away because you will get questions.
I won't.
I was at